US expert Bruce Wolpe now. Bruce, as you look at this, well, let's start first of all with a question Annalise put to Lauren on Trump's own day as this historic vote's taking place. He's out with a group of people that love him, that support him, his base, and who agree with him that the whole thing's a witch hunt.
That's true, Kieran, and good morning to you and Annalise on this historic day. The president likes to go to his base as often as possible to ratify and reaffirm his mission, his values, what he stands for, and what he's doing. And so it is sort of the ultimate split screen and constitutional crisis where you can have a vote in the House of Representatives to impeach the President of the United States, and the President goes to Michigan for a campaign rally in which he will undoubtedly get the strongest possible support. And his message, he will vent a lot on impeachment because this has been inside him. We saw it with this letter that he sent yesterday. He has a lot to get out, but he also has a lot to say about what he's doing as president, his record, what he stands for, America first, trade agreements, a strong military, guns. And so it's going to be a political message and a substantive message about what he's doing and why he wants to come back as a re-elected president next November.
That's right, and he's not going down quietly. He's already taken to Twitter this morning. In a tweet, all caps, he said, "Such atrocious lies by the radical left do nothing Democrats. This is an assault on America and an assault on the Republican Party." Bruce, do you think that this really will be firing up his base as much as it has the protesters out calling for his head?
Yes, he is angry, and his base is angry, and they see it as Trump has just said consistently, you're trying to nullify the 2016 election. He calls it a coup, a sham, a witch hunt, a hoax, and his base, which is rock solid, it just has not moved. You know, the polls that show those Americans against impeachment in the mid-40s, his approval rating is in the mid-40s, so there's no mystery here. But he knows that if he loses his base, that could be very difficult waters for him next year. That likely will not happen. They have seen nothing to break with him, and he is certainly not going to give up in his messages to them. So his role is going to be to consolidate his position and then attack the Democrats for their irresponsibility on impeachment and then their political and ideological values as far as the future of the country.
And Bruce, let's take our viewers live now to the House of Representatives. Have a listen in as this debate continues ahead of the final impeachment vote.
Gentleman from California.
Madam Speaker, I recognize Mr. Scott for a unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend remarks in favor of both articles of impeachment.
Without objection.
Madam Speaker, I recognize Mr. Carson, the Congressman from Indiana, for 2 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, Madam Speaker, as we continue and consider this historic impeachment vote, let's be clear that the President's actions seriously jeopardize not only America's national security, but the security of our closest allies. His actions threaten the goals of the U.S.-led NATO alliance. You see, Ukraine is a nation working hard to make its democracy stronger. And make no mistake, Ukraine is on the front lines of Russian aggression. Thankfully, U.S. military aid helps Ukraine defend itself against Russia and integrate itself into the European community. When our European allies are stronger, America is stronger. We are better equipped to promote democracy and put a stop to tyranny. But to President Trump, strengthening this valuable national security objective, Madam Speaker, was not as important as smearing a political rival. Madam Speaker, we know that he held nearly $400 million of aid to Ukraine until President Zelensky agreed to help him dig up dirt on his potential 2020 opponent. This aid was approved by Congress with strong bipartisan support. President Trump's actions hurt American diplomacy and undermine the integrity of our nation's promises to our allies. We will not allow our leaders to trade away our national security. We cannot allow Russia's continued threats to democracy go unanswered. And we must not allow our own president of these United States to get away with breaking his own oath of office. Madam Speaker, that is why we take this solemn but necessary vote to impeach. Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield a minute and a half to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Latta.
For what period?
Minute and a half.
Gentleman's recognized for a minute and a half.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a sad day for our country, one that our forefathers warned us against. We have watched this illegitimate impeachment process unfold while making a mockery of our constitutional duties. House Democrats have conducted the most polarizing impeachment process in our nation's history, and the men and women I represent are tired of this Democrat-run House putting political games above our nation's national interest. House Democrats held secret meetings, withheld important documents, deliberately misrepresented information to the public, and did not give due process to the president. This investigation was unfair, and the American people expect more out of Congress. The articles of impeachment are not based on facts, but instead are entirely politically motivated. The truth is, there was no pressure put on President Zelensky, and the transcripts confirm that there was no conditionality. This inquiry has been rigged from the start, lacking fairness, transparency, and truth. It has been a waste of taxpayers' dollars and is based off the opinion of an unnamed whistleblower and hearsay. The accusations in today's proceedings do not align with the facts. This impeachment process is out of step with existing precedent for presidential impeachment proceedings and is not a process I will support. I urge my colleagues to put country first and vote in opposition to the articles of impeachment. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
Back to Bruce Wolpe now. Bruce, there's a couple of interventions from either side of this debate.
Chairwoman Malone.
This perfectly captures the tone and tenor of the day. First, it's a relatively somber mood, but what you have is unyielding, relentless prosecution of the case by Democrats and unyielding, relentless anger by Republicans as to what they are facing. And no one has crossed sides here. There will be no Republicans that we know of, no Republicans to vote for impeachment. The Democratic defections will be limited. There were 2 on the impeachment inquiry, maybe 1 or 2 more. And that's it. So hyper-partisan on the Senate, on the House floor. And this is what will carry over into the Senate as well. But what we saw just now is from the top down, from the Speaker and the Republican leader down, this is the irresistible force meeting the immovable object on impeachment of the president.
That is quite expected, though, isn't it? I mean, it would be a pretty extraordinary move to cross against your party on something as significant as this.
It would. But Trump has also given them no opening to do that. In other words, a lot of members tell people privately, Republican members tell people privately, well, I don't like what happened. It wasn't right. And it was a mistake. But it's not worthy of impeaching and removing the president. So if the president could admit that there was something wrong, it was not the perfect call, and on reconsideration he wishes it did not happen and it won't happen again, well, that would give people a lot of comfort and would really take the air out of impeachment, particularly in those swing districts where you have 30 Democrats representing Republican territory at the presidential level who are in a very uncomfortable political position but have made a judgment that because of what happened, it's so serious that it warrants this action of impeachment. So that's the political conundrum that Democrats find themselves in. The president will not yield, there will be no defections, and the fight will continue.
Let's look back at precedents here. Johnson, 1868, the first impeachment, then Bill Clinton in the 90s, Richard Nixon resigned before he was impeached. But how did they play out? Let's go to the most recent example of Clinton, because in a political sense it backfired against his opponents.
It actually didn't backfire against. The conventional wisdom is it did backfire. Republicans lost a few seats in the midterm elections in 1998 associated with the impeachment process at that time. But a deeper look at it is that the Republicans held the House. They brought the impeachment against Clinton. They held the House. They held the Senate. They won the presidency in 2000 and held the White House for 2 terms. So the question, the big political question is, this time next year, will Democrats still control the House? Will Nancy Pelosi still be Speaker? Will Democrats control the Senate? Will Democrats control the White House? We just don't know the answers to it, but those are exactly the stakes that are involved.
Bruce, we will stay in touch right throughout the morning, so stay with us at our Sky News Centre there, and we'll be with you very shortly again for your analysis right throughout this historic morning there on Capitol Hill. Appreciate it, Bruce.